Welcome back to the LFCMD. This is your Bayer Leverkusen versus Liverpool matchday build-up. Now, I think this is a must-win for Liverpool for two reasons. Firstly, we need the bragging rights. Alonso can be coming back to Anfield and leave with a win, especially after we were linked with him in the summer to become Liverpool's next manager. So we need Arne Slot to win this game for that reason. The second reason is it's going to give us a bit more breathing room with the Madrid game coming up. We don't want to face Madrid and have the pressure of needing a massive win for that, so that it's easier for us to break through to the next round of the Champions League, especially given that nobody really knows how it's going to work in terms of the pairings. Remember, with the group stages last season and beyond that, we knew that if you finished first, you were going to get an easier round in the next round of 16. But we don't really know how it's going to work with this current league format in the Champions League. So if we can get our 3 points and remain unbeaten with a 100% score in the Champions League this season, that would be great going into the Real Madrid. If you're a Liverpool fan, you're always apprehensive going into a match against Real Madrid, even if it's at Anfield, because we've been scarred by Real Madrid in the past, and we've beaten them a couple of times, but when it mattered the most, we haven't really beaten Real Madrid. So we need to go into that match knowing that our path to the round of 16 is secured, and hopefully we get an easier round in the round of 16. Now, Leverkusen play kind of a different formation from most of the teams that we've played this season. They build up with a 3-5-2, and when they defend with a 5-3-2. This is to ensure that when they're building up, they have easier passing lanes from defense to midfield. That's why they overload the midfield and making sure that their wing backs are in attacking positions so they can get to the forward positions easier and link up play in that area. But when they defend, they bring back their wing backs, so they defend in a 5 at the back. So when they decide to have a defensive spell in the game, it's harder to break them down, because you're gonna need quite intricate play, or you're gonna need to play the ball in behind because you have 5 defenders to deal with. So we're gonna need to be aware of what they're trying to do in terms of going forward, and especially when they're coming back. So for them in attack, we need to make sure that we are very wise in our midfield partnership. We're gonna need McAllister and Gravenberch to have better games than they've had in the past 2 games. I think they've been amazing this season, but in the past 2 games we haven't seen the best of Gravenberch, we haven't seen the best of McAllister, and especially McAllister has been subbed off in a couple of the games that we've seen. But I think McAllister and Gravenberch are gonna be the starting 2, and we're gonna see them, or we need to see them having a better game in this game than in the past 2 games that they've had. The key players that we must watch out for from Leverkusen are maybe 4, but their whole team is quite amazing in how, especially last season, the things they did. This season, they've been playing okay, but they haven't gotten the same results as they got last season. Remember, last season, they spent the Bundesliga season unbeaten, and the only loss they had in all competitions was the Europa League final that they didn't win. And most of the games that they won last season were through late goals. So they drew for longer periods in the game, and this season that has come back to bite them in the back. They have drawn a lot more games, especially in the Bundesliga, than they have last season. So they haven't been scoring those late goals that they did last season. And if you look at their Champions League games, they've been doing quite well. They smashed Arne Slot's former team, Feyenoord, and they beat Inter Milan recently. So in the Champions League, they're going into this game on good Champions League form. But as we know, Liverpool also goes into this game with a 100% record in the Champions League so far. So the first key battle is going to be between Frimpong and Tsimikas on Bayer Leverkusen's right. And Frimpong is an amazing player playing at right wing back, not as amazing defensively, but he doesn't really need to do too much defensive work given that they have 3 center backs at the back. But going forward, he's a very skillful player, and Tsimikas is going to need to have his game like really focused, and I believe Tsimikas is going to play in this game given that Arne Slot seems to prefer Tsimikas in the past 2 games, and he's going to need his strongest defender in that run. And having seen Robertson have a few defensively difficult performances, I think Tsimikas is going to be the player to play, and I think Virgil van Dijk is going to need to help him out a lot in dealing with Frimpong down on that right. The second key battle is going to be between Grimaldo and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And this is one of the underrated players, or maybe not the star players at Leverkusen at this moment, because they have a star-studded team. But Grimaldo is quite a great player, especially creatively, and currently in the Bundesliga, he leads the league in terms of assists. So he's a very great player in finding other players in the box, finding other players in space, and putting the ball in. So Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to need to have his A game, and this season we've seen him not beaten as much by wingers playing down on that left, our right. And I think Konate is going to play in this game because we're going to need to have that continued partnership between him and Trent Alexander-Arnold in helping out defensively and closing that half space between them. The other player we need to look out for, and maybe one of the other key battles, is going to be between Florian Wirtz, which everybody is raving about, who is one of the 2 number 10s. I think he's going to try and create space and create chaos, especially in the small spaces between and inside our box, because the other player that we need to look out for is Victor Boniface. Now, Victor Boniface is more of a traditional target man, and what he usually does is occupy the center backs. So when he occupies the center backs, there's more space for the 2 number 10s, and Florian Wirtz is very good at taking advantage of that space. So we're gonna need to be very careful in how we defend in that space, and McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are going to need to be at their A game, especially defensively in the midfield, to win that battle. I believe that if Liverpool do their job defensively, we're going to have opportunities in the game, as we always do. And I believe we're going to win this game 2-0. We're going to need to be amazing defensively, but we're going to have opportunities. And I believe, given the form that he's been in the past few games, we're going to have 2 Mohamed Salah Champions League goals, and we're going to win this game. I hope you enjoy the game. Like this video if you love the content, and stay tuned for the post-match reaction.